DanceFest Weekly with me, Micaya, and my co-host, Brandy.
What's up, y'all? Back again.
How you doing, Brandy?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually, I'm in a different place. I'm out of town. I'm at a house with a pool with the little ones. Yeah, so feeling good. Feeling good.
A different location.
I know, I got the door closed. Got to keep the kids out.
That's all right, just for a few minutes. God, that sounds wonderful. So I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you voted?
I have not voted yet. My mail-in ballot is waiting for me at home. So I'm going to take all this like chill, relaxed, vibes I got from vacation and go home and fill that sucker out and then take it and drop it in a polling place. Yes.
Okay. Well, I have mine filled out too, except for I had a couple of them that I wasn't sure about. And then I had some discussions with my son and, still trying to figure some things out. Like the one about the independent contractors, it's really like, it affects people like me who work mostly as an independent contractor with all our gigs as dancers and as a teacher and all of that kind of stuff. So
that's why we have discussions, and that's why we got to look at that ballot now. It's your homework. Study.
Yeah. So DanceFest is coming in a little over a month. Things are really like coming together. We've got the live soloist on hold, ready to go. We've got the piece that's curated. What else have we got going on?
Woo! So we're going to look at some past performances. I'm excited about that too. I'm pretty sure there's like a live auction. We got kids montage. Like it's really a packed show. And I think it's going to be over so fast. People are going to be like, whoa, what just happened? That was amazing. So get your tickets. SFIHHDF.com. That's right.
And we have VIPs, and one of them is our guest today. I'm over the moon today because this is one of my favorite people. Every time I speak to him, I get education, and that's one of my favorite things. So go ahead and introduce him so we can do it.
So today we have Fayzo joining us, founder and director of the legendary dance group Medea Sirkas, Strutting dance group. I love Medea Sirkas. So they're from San Francisco and they have roots going back to the 1970s. So I'm looking forward to getting some schooling, going to class, going to church today. So we're going to check out a clip of Medea Sirkas at the SF International Hip Hop Dance Fest.
Hello, Fayzo, welcome.
What's up? How you guys doing? What's up, Brandy?
What's up? I like your shirt.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. What's going on?
Well, shoot, we're honored that you are our guest today. As I said earlier, you really have a lot of knowledge. You're a pioneer of some of the styles that you do, and you have a lot of history behind you, and you've been around in this game for a long time, and for that there's a lot of respect that not only me but the world of dance that I know have for you. So I named this podcast Respect intentionally because I feel like it's a topic that us dancers use a lot or don't use a lot. Right? So what I want to know from you, first and foremost, is how in all of your dance career have you felt with immense respect or feeling like you were not respected? Can you give us a couple examples of maybe a little bit of either of the spectrum?
For the most part, it's been respect, no doubt. I can't really think of times where it wasn't really respect, unless you want to speak on like, trying to get you to perform for free, that type of thing. But other than that, it's been pretty much respect. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so how do people show you that kind of respect, especially now that you are who you are and you've been doing such things for so long?
Just pretty much giving us props and, thanking me and the crew for what we have done in the past and what we're still doing for the dance community, and, those sort of things. So, that's how we understand and get the respect. We understand, where they're coming from, why are they giving us the respect, and we accept it and we give respect back as well.
Absolutely.
You have to give respect in order to get it. So we make sure we give respect where it's due, and they do the same for us, Yeah.
That's what we've been hearing from so many people, huh, Brandy?
Yeah, I mean, just, you got to give it to get it. And then the trying to get performers to perform for free has been common too, right? It's like, oh, well, you'll get, there's so many people here and you'll get exposure. And it's like, yeah, I need more than that.
So we've gotten a lot of that in the past, not so much now, but in the past we used to get that a lot. But I had to, stop that. So, we good now. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
So I want to ask about the history of strutting, because I think that, just people who maybe come to DanceFest or people who love hip hop may not know about strutting and the history of strutting. So tell us about where it came from, how it evolved.
Okay, well, first of all, strutting, as you all know, the term strutting has been around for a long time, right? The definition of strutting is, basically strutting your stuff, showing what you can do with confidence, basically, right? But it wasn't until around 1975 where that term, strutting, was attached to what we do. And the name of that group was Granny and the Robotroids, right? So Granny and the Robotroids was the first strutting group. But here's the thing: it's kind of it's a catch with that. So Granny was from San Francisco. The Robotroids was from Oakland. Granny pulled Robotroids from Oakland and brought them to San Francisco. Now the name strutting was attached to Granny as the strutting group, but strutting was innovated in San Francisco. The foundation was innovated in Oakland because, well, and I'll get into that as well. So they came from Oakland. The Robotroids was already a group, right, from Oakland. Like I said, she brought them to San Francisco. So with that being said, Oakland was already stepping and doing this type of movement, right? But it was their style. When Granny brought it over to San Francisco, she did what she did to make it kind of a San Francisco thing, but the foundation was still Oakland. So you'll hear some people say that strutting came from Oakland, but strutting was innovated in San Francisco and the foundation was created in Oakland, right? So with Granny being the first strutting group, it was other groups that came after her, which defined what strutting was and defined strutting as a San Francisco group. One of those groups was Close Encounters of the Funkiest Kind, right? So after Granny, you had many groups. You had Live Incorporated, you had the Diabolical Soldiers, you had the Electroids, and many other groups. But when Close Encounters came along, because see, all these other groups, even some of Live Incorporated was from Oakland. Then they had a different style, more of a blocked, kind of style. If it's a group called the Black Messengers. they all kind of had that style, right? But when Close Encounters came, they changed the game. You know, they started doing all these waves and stuff, and, you know, coming out of spaceships. And, you know, I remember Close Encounters, they came out of, and I remember one of the shows I was at, right? This was at Benjamin Franklin Junior High School, and I want to say it was 1977, somewhere around 1977, 1978, right? So I'm in the audience and I'm looking on stage and I'm hearing this group, Close Encounters of the Funkiest Kind, which I had heard of them already. And the lights went out and all I heard was, droop, droop, down, think, and it was Kraftwerk, We Are the Robots, right? And then the lights came on and you saw this silver spaceship with antennas on it, but you didn't see nobody. Now, back then we were creative. We made spaceships out of refrigerator boxes and tin foil and glue and sequence and whatever we could find to make it look futuristic. We were like really creative, right? So it came on, and one person came up from behind the spaceship, went back down, said, droop, and they went back down, and they came out. To be honest with you, in that day and time, during that time, that was incredible. They pretty much might as well had won the show just when they came out. They didn't even have to step, right? But what Close Encounters did is they changed the game in as far as creativity. They changed the game as far as the way San Francisco Strutters moved. Like I said, they came with all this creative stuff. They came with the arm waves. They came with the single arm waves. They came with the side waves and all this stuff. And, you know, Granny never did that. None of the groups before Close Encounters was doing that. So when Close Encounters came with the style that they came with, that put a stamp on what San Francisco strutting was. Now I could go on, but
dude.
Keep it short.
You don't have to, because we really wanted to hear all about that. And
right.
So you're saying like before Close Encounters, it was mostly like stepping.
It was, it was mostly stepping and blocked moves. So you didn't see any waves. You didn't see any of that. So from Granny and the Robotroys to, you know, a lot of the groups that came after them, Live Incorporated, you know, you didn't really see any of that till kind of later on.
Okay.
After Close Encounters.
Right on. And you see both of those, of course, in Medea Sirkas, because just all the different kind of waves and the block moves. And I was just watching a performance of y'all when you were on Apollo. It's like Apollo Theater one, and you do that wave in slow motion with all three of y'all, and the crowd just was like, "Wow!" Yeah. So.
Yeah. So, you know, we came after Close Encounters. So now we were around during when Close Encounters was performing and stuff like that, but they was at the top of their game. And so we came in as we were Demons of the Mind at the time, right? That was the name of the group. So, you know, we were looking at Close Encounters, okay, like that's the group that we gonna have to match or, you know, exceed. That's the group you know, that's gonna give us problems, right? And so, you know, we focused on just being the best, you know, because they were the best at that time. And when we came along, we just took all of the, you know, knowledge that we learned, you know, before that and put it into Demons of the Mind. And Larry McDonald, you know, he's the one who started Demons of the Mind, and he was in Live Incorporated. So Live Incorporated, you know, he was an original member of Live Incorporated, and he started Demons of the Mind. So the group that we were looking at to get was Close Encounters. And now, don't get me wrong, Close Encounters, we still partners today. But, you know, doing a dance performance or anything, it's like strictly business. Like we boys, we'll holler after the show, right? And I remember a show that we did together. I think it was at maybe the Scottish Rite Auditorium, I think. And we were way on one side. and Close was way on the other side, but we kind of came in together. Hey, what's up, man? What's up? Boom. We went to our side dressing rooms. They went to theirs. And then, you know, after the show, everything was cool. But yeah.
And so this is in the 70s?
This was, okay, so when Close came out was in the 70s. If I'm correct, they came out in 77. And when we started doing shows with them, it was in the 80s. So this was in the 80s when we started actually doing shows with them. But before that, we were just really kind of just peeping what they were doing. And like, that's the group to, you know, that we're going to have to, you know, give some problems. You know,
so Demons of the Mind started when?
Demons of the Mind started in 1978 by Larry McDonald.
Okay.
And I was an original member, but see, in 78, here's the thing. In 78, we didn't have a name. Right? So Larry, he was just, you know, teaching Melvin and A1, their brothers, right? He was just teaching them. I came in, where did I see Larry? I saw Larry somewhere, and he asked me to be in a group, but they didn't have a name. So I would just practice with them. We were just practicing without a name. And this is how everything is intertwined. We knew Mark Elliott we felt Mark was a genius. So we went up to Mark's house and asked him for a name. I said, we need a name. And so Mark said, okay, man, you guys come back, you know, in a couple of days, I'll have a name for you. Me, Larry, A1, a couple other people went back up to his house, and he said, I got a name for you guys. He said, Demons of the Mind. Like, Demons of the Mind. It was like, oh, that sound kind of dope. Mm-hmm. But when my auntie and my mom heard it, they didn't like it because Demons of the Mind. It was like, what is that, right? But anyway, so that's how we got the name. And so from there, we just started. Now we had a name, we had a brand. So, you know, we just started, you know, after that, start really practicing, getting routines together, and then started doing shows. A lot of the routines I was still learning. So first couple of shows I didn't do with them, but, you know, once I learned the routines, then we went on. But yeah, Demons of Mind, 1978, Larry McDonald, and then we moved on from there. So here's the thing, we moved on from there. We did all these shows, and we ended up doing a few shows with Close Encounters. And I never, you know, thought that it would turn out the way it did, but we actually beat them in a talent show, right? And this was in the 80s, but this was, you know, when Close Encounters was, you know, about to, you know, stop dancing. It was, you know, a few years before that. So, you know, Close Encounters was still dope, but they, you know, a lot of them went off into doing music and stuff like that. And we just kept it going, you know? So, yeah. And again, I could go on and on, but I'm trying to keep it as, you know, short as possible. I may be leaving out some things, but, you know, yeah.
So San Francisco, all of you all were from San Francisco that were in Demons of the Mind?
Yes.
And so you all had your particular style, correct?
Yes.
And how do you describe that?
Our individual style or group style?
San Francisco style in general.
San Francisco style in general, I would say is, you know, we dance a little bit faster than most, right? And again, Close Encounters started that, okay? Close Encounters, what they did is they took a 33 record and sped it up to 45. Okay. So, you know, we could get more moves in a shorter period of time. And so that's what started the fast pace. Before that, like I said, it was more blocked. It was more, you know, just stepping as opposed to waves and moving fast and stuff like that. So when Close Encounters came, that's when that started. So before that, it wasn't, you know, San Francisco was kind of stepping like Oakland. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, like I said, Close Encounters defined what strutting was going to be for San Francisco from that point on, from 1977 on. Yeah.
Wow, this is a deep history, because I know people see you know, Media Circus performing, San Francisco Hip Hop Dance Fest, and just to know how deep that history is amazing. I'm a big Media Circus fan. I remember, you know, the first San Francisco Hip Hop Dance Fest, and also living in Oakland, I've seen Media Circus perform in Oakland at different shows. So it's just, and I'm a sci-fi fan, so it just like is, I'm like, yes, okay, Media Circus is coming on. It's about to be like robotic funkiness. So,
and I will say this: before Close Encounters did what they did, you know, the San Francisco strutting groups was still, you could still tell the difference from Oakland, because you had two styles in Oakland, right? You had the real hard hitting posing style, which the Black Messengers brought. Then you had the more dancey kind of Motown, you know, stepping type of group, which was the Black Resurgence, right? So it was a little more dancey and stuff like that. And see, stepping been around for a long time too, because when you go back in history, you go back to like the Four Tops and the Temptations and the Jackson 5 and, you know, those type of groups. They always had that formation, side by side, stepping, you know. So the Bay Area, you know, just took that and ran with it, and we started doing what we do with that. And I mean, you know, that's just how it all evolved. In Oakland, they'll have their version of how they did it, but that all came before what we all were doing, you know, with the stepping in line and stuff like that. And we just found ways to make it us.
Yeah.
You
well,
know?
so then how did Demons of the Mind turn into Media Circus, or did it not?
Well, this is what happened. So Larry left the group at some point. I think Larry left the group in like 83. And then I took over the group in 83. And then in 83, I say the end of 82, the beginning of 83, we had, you know, I put Lonnie in the group, right? So then Lonnie, it was myself, Lonnie, A1, and his brother, Melvin. So then when Melvin left the group, that's when I got Boogaloo Dana in the group. So that was around the end of 83, beginning of 84. So Demons of Mine from the end of 83 all the way to 85, when we dismantled was in 85, we actually broke up in 85. So from that, me and Dana, you know, we wanted to keep the dance going, but look at the time frame, 85, rap was coming in strong. So the dance was kind of fading out. But mind you, you had the breaking movies, all the, you know, Breaking 1, Breaking 2, all of these movies that you had poppers in it, you had breakers, you had wavers, but the media looked at it all as breaking. Oh, it's a break. And they wasn't even B-boy or breaking, it was the break dance. It was the break dancers. And we always had to defend, we're not break dancers. we're strutters. And then some of, you know, our homies, they were poppers. So we had to define what was what. And people didn't really want to see it because it was so saturated after 85. So we tried a little bit after that, but it wasn't working. So myself and Dana, you know, after the group broke up, me and Dana, you know, we've been boys since 1982. I got to tell you a story about that too, how I met him. But we went our ways, and A1 and Lonnie went their ways when the group broke up. So me and Dana decided, okay, let's try to put the group back together. I said, I want to put back together Demons of the Mind and just see how it goes. So I put back together Demons of the Mind in 89. And it just wasn't working. Didn't nobody really want to see it anymore. Mm-hmm. So we stopped. But then I started seeing, you know, artists touch on this art form in videos, right? You know, Hammer was touching on it. A few other people was touching on it. And I went to Dana. I said, Dana, man, we need to start this dance stuff back up, man. He said, man, but people don't want to see it no more. I said, but we got to make them want to see it. I say, we got to make them want to see it. And I say, the only thing that's going to make them want to see it now is that we come in not looking like we did before. You know, different kinds, we got to reinvent ourselves. We come back the same way, they just look at, oh, that's that old stuff, right? So what we did is, I had to convince Dana. I stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning making up a routine to show Dana, to try to convince him to let's do this. So I went to my boy Cleo. Now Cleo is, you know, he was an original member of Media Sirkas. So I went to Cleo, AKA Justice Supreme. I said, man, I got a routine that I want to show you. Me and you got to do it so we together can convince Dana that he needs to do this. So we got in there, we did it, and I brought Dana in. I said, Dane, check this out, man. Wow, right? And he was like, all right. I said, man, just get in and try it. And once he tried it, he was back on board. That's how Media Sirkas started. And from there on, I said, okay, what we're gonna have to do, we already changed the name, which the name, Cleo made up the name Media Sirkas, because we didn't have a name. We didn't want to go back under Demons of the Mind. So Cleo, he came to rehearsal one day and he said, I got a name. And he said, Media Sirkas. I said, Media Sirkas? I said, man, huh? I said, I don't like that, man. He said, but look, we're going to spell it like this. MEDEASIRKAS. So we went from KAS, KUS, KES, right? And we finally settled with AS. And I said, okay, let's stick with that name until we come up with something better. But we ended up making Media Sirkas a name. So of course, we never came up with nothing better, right? And so I said, so that's one thing. We got to come back in the game, people not knowing who we are and just looking at us as a dance group and not, that's from Demons. Oh, that's Dana, you know. So that's when we, you know, I did the whole mask thing or whatnot, and we start performing in shows. But then when we would take our mask off, people were like, oh, no wonder, that was Demons of the Mind. Oh. And so people at some point kept just calling us Demons of the Mind, but you know, after a while, they understood we were Media Sirkas. But that's how we were able to get back in the game and stay in the game. We just had to reinvent ourselves. And that's what we did. And that's kind of what we've been continuing to do, so to speak, you know? And I can go on forever. I'm gonna stop, but yeah.
Yes, I was wondering about the masks because I mean, I feel like that's Media Sirkas, the masks.
Yeah.
And it makes it mysterious and I love it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. And that's a trip because like just a brief second before Media Sirkas, you know, we was called, it was Mysterious. I even forgot the name. It was Mysterious something, right? We had it for brief before we actually started performing. And then I think we probably did a couple of shows with that name, but then Media Sirkas, you know, took over. And then we started doing it that way. But the mask thing, I wanted to cover our face. See, back in the day, we used to wear these masks that just went around your eye area, right? But you could, if you knew the person, you could still see them, or you could just see the character still. We wanted people to just really focus on what we were doing. Like not, if you knew us individually, you'd be like, oh, yeah, Fayzo, he kind of moved like that, or yeah, I know who that is, but you kind of have to guess. And that's really what it was. And so that was why I said, no, we got to, because we had these things over our head, but you could kind of see our face. So then I said, okay, I went and got these masks, these silver masks, and put under it, right? And then that's where the whole mask thing started. And that was like the maybe mid-90s. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
then Media Sirkas was basically your creative project. You thought about the costumes and the music and the choreography, or did you have collaboration?
Well, with the costumes, I have been designing our costumes. I even designed all of Demons of the Mind costumes from 1988 until we broke up. So that's when I started designing costumes. It was in the 80s, right? And so it was just natural when Media Sirkas came along, I just started designing all of our costumes as well. And believe it or not, I used to DJ, right? Not professionally like that, but I used to do house parties and stuff like that and make tapes for the neighborhood cats and stuff like that. So, you know, I was familiar with music. So I used to make our show tapes back then, right? But this is the trip. I have to tell you this little cheat right here. So what I used to do is, instead of, you know, going in the studio and stuff like that, because we were young. So I had my mixer, I had my 2 turntables, and I had these 2 dual tape decks. And so I would play one song and I write, and you know, back then the pause was like automatic. It was, you could just press it and it would stop. So I would take songs and switch and stop right here and start another song there and stop right there. And I'd do stuff on the mic and do sound effects. I'd have 2 mics and go, you know, like this to make it go shh, like this. And I actually have a tape in my box where I was actually doing that for the group. We was about to do this show called Dig If You Will, and I had to put together this whole tape. And I did it with records and metal tapes, and I would pause and pause, put it there, pause. And once you guys heard it, once they heard us and seen us perform, you would have thought I went in the studio and did all that. But I did it right at home, pushing the pause button like this and putting it all together.
Yeah. Making it work, making it work.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I did so fast forward to now, I started, you know, going to the studio, producing the music, you know, the show mixes, designing the costumes. And myself and Dana, you know, we usually come up with the choreography, you know. And now, you know, the members we have, and now we got Kato in the group. We got our newest member, Omega Groove. So everybody put in, you know, some input. But, you know, myself and Dana, we do, you know, most of the choreography for the group. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So getting into DanceFest. So how many times has Medea Sirkas performed at DanceFest?
Oh, wow, Micaya, can you help me with this?
I don't know how many. I know maybe 5. I don't know.
Yes, it's been a few. It's been a few, maybe 5 or 6 or something like that. Because we were doing it every year at first. We were doing it every year, and then it just, you know, then we stopped and we come back and do it. So I say maybe 5 or 6 times, maybe even 7, but it's been a few times, you know.
And what are some of your, like, the memories that stand out from, oh yeah, there it is. Tell us about that.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure Micaya have told you, but I heard that someone was giving a hip hop dance fest. And I'm like, really? So I'm like, Faze, man, somebody giving a hip hop dance fest, you guys in it? I said, nah. He said, man, it's gonna be at this place, da 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 da. I said, for real? And so I'm like, what? I said, okay, I'm gonna go down there. I said, I'm gonna go down there. So I went down there with a tape, and I was asking around, I guess, who was putting on the dance fest. And somebody showed me this tall lady with this long hair and said it was her, Micaya, right? And then I, you know, went up to her and I talked to her and I asked her, had she heard of Medea Sirkas? And she said no. And I said, you know, we one of the, you know, legendary groups out of San Francisco, you know, and I have a tape here. We would like to be in your show, something to that nature, I said to her. So she took the tape, put it in, started looking at the tape or whatnot. And she was like, almost like it looked like she felt like, wow, I'm putting on a hip hop dance fest. I should know about these guys. And she ended up putting us in the show. The first, and I think that was was that your first one, Micaya?
Yes, that was
her first one. And she ended up putting us in it. And that was one of the major, like, memories that I have with, you know, Hip Hop Dance Fest. And we've been cool, like, ever since. Like, that was it.
Yeah. But I also know that there have been times that Media Circus didn't perform and you came and attended as my colleague, just because I wanted to get your feedback on what I was bringing. I wanted to know what your feedback is on just being an audience member of the Dance Fest.
Let me put it to you like this. You know, every time I go to the Hip Hop Dance Fest and sit in the audience, because I don't get a chance to do that a lot. So every single time, it blows me away, because from beginning to end, and you might do this, Micaya, you might sit there and go through every tape, every video, and figure out where you're gonna place these performances.
I sure do.
And so when I'm sitting there looking at I say this about every show that I've been to, sitting in the audience. It's like she sits there and say, okay, the beginning, in between, the middle, in between, these guys are gonna go on the end. You know, we right here, we're gonna put in the, you know, the intermission, and then these, it's like she strategically placed everyone. And I can tell when I go to the show, and it's amazing. So it's a great experience. I just put it to you that way. And it's a variety. It's not the same type of performers. So if she have this type of performer, okay, you can't have the same type. You could be similar-ish, but you have to have your own niche. And and I haven't asked Micaya about this. This is just what I've noticed when I'm at the show.
Yeah.
So it's always a good experience for me when I go to the show and sit in the audience, as well as performing too.
Well, you know, I value your opinion. So yes, I intentionally place everything very, very thoughtfully. And yes, I definitely curate with a lot of diversity. I know that you go to some of these competitions where everybody looks the same, and although I really think they're very good, a lot of times I get a little bit overwhelmed with all of the little dance groups that look the same over and over again, when
Right.
it doesn't need to. There's such a variety. And so, you know, nobody has ever said that at Dance Fest, that everything was the same, because you know, I try to just bring all kinds of levels and layers and everything for us, so we all feel somebody gets something.
And that's what I love about it, because it is it's diverse. You know, you go in and you seeing different type of hip hop artists, you know, be creative, and that's what I love about it. And you don't get bored, because it's not all the same. You know, once you see this dance group, it's like the next one don't look like that one, and the next one is just a different song, and it's really a beautiful thing. So yeah. My experience in the audience is A1. Yeah.
Well, you know what, Brandy? I feel like we could do like 3 or 4 episodes just with Fayzo, because we just touched on stuff. But at least we got something. I can take notes. I always feel like I have to take notes when I talk to Fayzo, so I can get all my facts correctly.
Right. And then I'll get on Google later and be like, Granny and the robot. I'm just finding videos, Close Encounters. Like Close Encounters, they could have been at Dance Fest easily. Oh my gosh. Right. Just because I love that Dance Fest. So you have the competitions, right? And those they do kind of put the dance companies in a box. You have to do this, you have to do this. It's prescribed. But with Dance Fest, I think, you know, it's just like, bring it. Where can you go? You know, where can you take us? And after people see it, then they know when they come, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm just about to see like the best that's going on right now in hip hop dance creatively. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, and like I said, you know, it's a lot of history to be told. It's a lot of groups that I didn't mention. You know, some of the strutting groups, but it's so many. But you know, maybe we could touch on that another time. But yeah, it was just growing up in San Francisco, Fillmore district, where this style was innovated. I wouldn't change it for the world. You kind of would have to be there to get the feel of what I'm telling you, of what I'm saying. You can go to Fillmore now, it's not the same. But it was so cultural. I mean, down to the hats we wore, to the crocosac shoes we wore, the surfers we wore, the white gloves, you know, the tuxedo shirts that we used to wear, you know, shirts with a picture of a tuxedo on it, and our Godfather hats or our derby hats, you know, just the whole culture of what we did, going down to Fisherman's Wharf, you know, dancing down there, making money to get our costumes. And I mean, it was just, yeah, it was just, yeah, I could be here all day talking about this art form and just the San Francisco Fillmore District, just the San Francisco Fillmore District, not to mention any other area, just that area. It was so much talent in that area. It was unbelievable.
And you all dance differently just there. I mean, right? That's what I've been told, is that you could kind of tell where people were from by the way they dance.
By the way they danced and by the way they dressed. Yeah. And by the way they dressed. So when they, yeah, so you could tell by the way a person stood too. Like I could be standing over here, you know, just chilling. You'd be like, yeah, he looked like he's from San Francisco. You know, so yeah, but yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, we will have to find a way to have episode 2, 3, 4, and 5 to just keep layering on all of this information, because I know you're just a wealth of it. Brandy, woo!
Yeah, yes.
Good one, huh?
That's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, just, woo, I'm filled up.
Yeah, I am too. I don't know, who's our guest next week? Do you know?
I do not know.
I know.
You know.
Yes, it's birthday.
Oh!
From London. Because, you know, we are showing their piece Vice in our show this year. It's one of the all-time favorite pieces. So great. So they are going to be hollering at us from London. I don't know what time it's going to be there. I guess we'll ask them.
Oh, wow. I mean, this just, you know, it just, I felt like, oh, we're doing these interviews and, you know, as we go on, oh, I might get, you know, kind of tired or, you know, kind of fatigued, but every week I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah. We might have to pick this up again next year when it gets closer to DanceFest and just keep going, because this has just been so lively and so informative. For people who are watching, you go to the DanceFest website and archives of everyone we've interviewed is on there, from King Charles to Faye to Breezely, Miss Funk, Fayzo, everybody's there, and they've all taught us so much, and they've all been so beautiful. Dancers are beautiful.
Yes.
You think?
I know they're beautiful. The community of dance is just one of love and, you know, acceptance and respect among those dancers. Definitely. Yes.
So everybody, let's tune in Saturday, the 21st of November at what time?
12 p.m. Yes. SFHIPHOPDanceFest.com. Get those tickets. You're going to be sad that you missed it if you miss it.
Get your tickets. It's sliding scale. So if you only have $1, then you can have $1. If you don't have $1, so hit me up. I'll give you a free ticket, you know? I mean, this is 2020. I understand. We all going through it. Fayzo, it's been an honor to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to wrap up, everybody. So thank you so much again for tuning in to Respect with me, Micaya, and my beautiful co-host, Brandy. Until next time, love and respect.
Peace.